Hey everyone, Hustlin' here, and I got another Power Rangers Dino Charge review for you today. This is it, folks. These are the Dino Cycles right here. So there's 3 different Dino Cycles that have been released. You got the Dino Cycle and Red Ranger, Dino Cycle and Black Ranger, and Dino Cycle and Blue Ranger. So these are a part of the Zord Builder line as well. And we'll take a look at these. The one that's from the show is the one that comes with the Red Ranger, the yellow and black one, I believe. I don't think the other color combinations are from the show. I think there's toy originals. I figured I'd pick it up anyways because I was excited. I was like, Dino Charge, yes! So here's the packaging. So you got them kind of in a little window, which is nice. So they each come with a cycle and a Ranger figure, which is actually pretty neat. I'm looking at the Ranger figure right now, and I'm a little bit impressed in terms of my expectations versus what we actually got. Because it actually looks like there's a little bit of articulation, maybe. So I'm a little excited about that. We'll take a look and see. I mean, the figure itself, in terms of paint and stuff, looks terrible, but there might actually be some articulation. Cool. So, exclusive Ranger figure right there. Dino Cycle and Red Ranger. I love the artwork that they went for with all the cycles. I think it looks really cool. In fact, they went with the same artwork for all the cycles, but they just colored it accordingly for each of the cycles, which I think is pretty neat. So they are Zord Builder compatible, which we'll take a look at. So Dino Charge right there. Pretty cool. So you can use the Dino Chargers with the scanner app as it shows here, which is not out yet. But one thing to note, these Dino Cycles do not come with Dino Chargers. So if you're trying to collect the Dino Chargers, you do not need to buy any of the cycles. You can pass on them. So the only reason to get the cycles is if you want Zord Builder compatible stuff, or like this one's from the show, so if you want things from the show, basically. But otherwise, these do not come with Dino Chargers. Which is interesting, because I thought there was a Dino Charger for the bike in Kyoryuger. I think it was called, one of the things, I think Dino's Chaser, I think it was called in Kyoryuger, and I thought there was a charger for it, so somehow they'll probably release that separately, I don't know. The back of the box is also pretty cool. I love how they got some pictures from the show so you can actually see the cycle in action on the show, and it looks great. And yeah, so you can ride the cycle, the Ranger can ride it, and the cycle can also split into double dino modes. So they both are little dinosaurs there, which is pretty cool. And I'll show you all the Zord Builder fun that you can do with those cycles. Here's the Black Ranger. So this cycle, instead of being yellow in the front and black in the back, it's red and then like gray, I guess, right there. And you got the Black Ranger figure right there, which is pretty cool. There's the Black Ranger on the side of the packaging. And another great shot there, but of course the cycle is going to be yellow and black because that is, you know, how it was on the actual show. So you can kind of compare the two right there and sort of see the cycles. So, and again, same features and stuff, it's just painted differently. That's really the only difference between all these bikes. And so here's the Blue Ranger. And this one has got like a gray front and like a dark gray back in a way, but there's some like dark blue all throughout as well. And the Blue Ranger figure. So we'll take a look at all of that. There's the Blue Ranger right there. And the back of the box. Look at that artwork, or rather not artwork, an image from the show. And you can see the Japanese name, the Dino Chaser right there. But yeah, so pretty cool. And again, same stuff there. So pretty cool packaging. I do like what they did with Dino Charge. But here it is, folks. These are the 3 different Dino Cycles in stores now. So it's time now. Let's take these open and take a look. Alright, here we go. We have the Dino Cycles out of the packaging. Here are all 3. And, you know, they're kind of neat. I do kind of dig them here. So, first of all, they all are the exact same mold for the Ranger and the bike, except obviously the Rangers have slightly different helmets, and the bikes, I think the only differences are the colors as far as I can tell. Everything else about them looks to be basically the same. So, these bikes themselves, we'll take a look at the Rangers in just a second, but overall, you know, I think it looks pretty solid. I think it's definitely pretty cool looking. And the bikes do roll quite nicely. They don't, there's no like stand to make them like stand up. And in fact, it just fell over right there. So you kind of have to just tilt it a little bit so it rests on the leg, but it's really not sturdy at all. Like you can kind of push it a little bit and it just sort of falls over like that. So that's the one little unfortunate thing. If you want it on display, it's very easily going to tip over. So I kind of wish that they had like a stand that you could kick out and it would sort of rest on, I guess. So that's one little thing there. So as far as the actual thing looks, my personal favorite one is this one, the one straight from the show, the main one here, I think it looks great. I'm sure it's probably missing some paint or something. Like, I think the eyes are supposed to be red or colored or something. But for what it is, I think it looks pretty cool. I think the yellow and black contrast and the silver looks great. The silver is nice and shiny and it really stands out. You got a little red on the eyes down there and on that dino in there. The silver looks great with the black as well. Yeah, I mean, I think it looks really cool. I am actually digging this cycle. I think it's a pretty solid looking cycle for sure. So that's what it looks like there. Yeah, really cool. So we'll kind of put that to the side. Here's the one for the Blue Ranger. And then you see how like this one looks cool and you got nice shiny silver. Then the other two are kind of dull, and that's why I don't like them as much. So not only are they not from the show, they're just recolors, but they're also very dull looking. So the difference is obviously you get a different Ranger toy, but you know, there's kind of that little thing there. So this is more like a gray color, and this is like a dark gray, and there's some dark blue outlines there instead of silver. So, hey, you know, the color scheme works for this Ranger. Like, it fits for sure. I just don't find it as exciting, or as it doesn't really catch your eye or catch your attention as much as the actual original one from the show. But it's still kind of neat, I suppose. So there's that. And then last but not least, the one for the Black Ranger, and I feel like this one's kind of the worst. There's something about this red and then the like dark gray with it, and even this part of it too, that just makes it look almost cheap. So it's kind of, I think everything here is darker and it kind of blends in with the color, but the red really stands out from the gray here, and the Black Ranger kind of doesn't fit in there. So it kind of, to me, this one is the worst of the three. It just doesn't look as good in terms of the color and stuff. But, you know, I guess if you want a Black Ranger figure, you can get the cycle and get that as well. So there's that. So what I want to look at next are actually the three Rangers. So I'll pop them off of the cycles there. Let's grab them. So one of my biggest issues with the cycles in the past is the Ranger figures that came with them, because they were always permanently stuck in a pose like this practically. But guess what? These are not stuck in this pose anymore. Boom, there's articulation, and it is awesome. So it is not as articulated as like a full 5-inch figure, but close to it in a way. So just looking at it here, first of all, the biggest thing is these are lacking paint. So these are not really substitutes for a full 5-inch figure unless you're going to paint this up. So the main thing is the band across is a nice silver, and it's really cool. And they did get the red, you know, dinosaur on there, which is great. But there's no yellow stripe going across, you know? And I think that's a huge miss right there. And if I try and let's see if I can find, I don't know where, oh, here's the box, I think. You can kind of see a little bit of the Red Ranger on there, and you see the yellow stripes and the black zigzag across. It just doesn't look as good without it, you know? So I think that's a huge thing there. The helmet, though, I think is pretty great. I think they did nice with the helmet. They actually have the yellow on the helmet, and the helmet looks pretty solid. The rest of it is just all solid red, so it's missing all sorts of other colors and stuff there. But it gives you an idea of what the 5-inch figure might kind of look like. It'll probably, hopefully, have a bit more articulation than this. I think just because it's the bike figure, it doesn't have as much. But, so the helmet does not move. So that's one thing that's less articulation than the usual 5-inch figure. The arms do rotate around, and theoretically they can rotate around 360 degrees, but this shoulder piece only lets it move, you know, that much there. On the other 5-inch figures, you could move the arms apart, like you could lift them like horizontally. You cannot do that. They don't move apart. They do have, you know, bending at the elbow, but this part here you cannot rotate, so it's permanently stuck with your hands like this rather than, you know, normally like your hands like that. Instead, it's permanently stuck like this. So so that's the one downside there. The legs, he cannot do the splits or anything, but he can move them forward and back about that much. He does bend to the knees. But then you cannot rotate, you know, the boots or anything there. So it's like a 5-inch figure, but just a bit more limited. And in fact, if you compare the sizes, I'll just grab one of my random 5-inch figures right there. Here's the Mighty Morphin Red Ranger. It's basically that size, maybe slightly taller. Let me grab, what else do I got here? Here's a Super Mega Force Red Ranger. So it's roughly the same size, maybe slightly taller, but It's basically to scale almost. So I have a feeling the actual 5-inch figures are going to be just about this size. So that's actually pretty cool. And so the nice thing is, you know, if I grab, I'm just going to grab a random 5-inch figure. Here's the Omega Ranger right here. So if I wanted to, I could put the Omega Ranger on the cycle. And the only thing is just getting him to grip the handlebars a little bit, but, you know, yeah. And if I can get him to bend there, boom. Right there, folks. So the 5-inch figures will fit on the cycles, which is great. I think that's awesome. So if you buy these toys and then you later buy the actual individual 5-inch figures that will be released, they will work on the cycle and it'll look even better. So I think that is definitely a great plus right there. So even though I do applaud them though for making much better figures with the cycles, because now I'm actually not disappointed with the Ranger figure. In the past, I bought the cycles and I practically just dumped the other, you know, cycle figures away. But these are actually kind of neat. I mean, they're lacking paint, so they don't look too good, but they're a bit more functional, which is certainly appreciated. And then for comparison, so the same articulation for all three of them, but the main difference is obviously, you know, this one's blue. You got the Stegosaurus on there, and then the helmet right there, of course. You know, the helmet sculpts are good. I think they're pretty cool looking. I like, blue is my favorite color, and I always love the blue and silver combo, so that's always pretty cool. And then, of course, the Black Ranger. And we got the Parasaurolophus right there. And, of course, the helmet to match that as well. So, yeah, so you got your three, you know, Dino Charge Rangers there. None for the green and pink Rangers so far, so... There's that. All right, so enough of those guys. Let's move them to the side. So these cycles, right? So what else can you do with these cycles? Well, yeah, not only are they actual cycles that you can roll around, but you can also break them apart. Ooh, fancy. And what you can do is this little thing kind of becomes its own little Zord, or not Zord, but like a little dinosaur thing. There's like the face, you know, like the arms, the legs. So it just kind of sits there like this, and it's its own little dinosaur. And this guy, you just flip it around. Boom! There's like the head, and it's kind of its own little dinosaur. So you got two little dinos. And I think in the show, if I remember correctly, it would split apart and it could like attack and stuff. So you do have your two little dinos straight from the show, which I think is pretty cool. So same thing goes for any of these other cycles. So I can take the one that came with the Blue Ranger, split it apart, flip this around, boom. I got two little dinos right there. Same thing with this one. Split it apart, flip this around, boom. So what you can do if you wanted to is if I wanted to have, you know, this black one here and the red part, I can do that. Boom. Now I've made my own custom little cycle right there. So you can mix and match, which is pretty cool. You know, if I wanted to have one that's like all gray, I can do that. I always get confused. No, I gotta flip this side. I always get confused. Which side do I flip? So like this one kind of matches a bit more. It's still pretty dull because it's like all gray, but it's matching. It's all the same color. So you can really have some fun with this and make your own little combinations, which is certainly a plus, I think. So that's one advantage of getting the other cycles. You know, you can mix and match some of the colors. I think this looks fantastic on its own, but the more cycles you have, the more options you have to flip-flop and do all sorts of stuff there. So that's kind of neat for sure. So anyways, let's kind of put these back. So let's attach these back on and make them cycles again. So you'll notice there are a bunch of ZordBuilder ports as well. So, you know, this attaches inside of ZordBuilder ports, but you have that hole right there to, you know, connect that part, but then you also have a hole right there. And those will actually come into play in a little bit, and that's coming up right next. So we'll take a look at the ZordBuilder functionality. So not only are they cycles, not only are they two dinosaurs, but they also can attach to the Megazord. So what I've got right here, I can reattach this little piece here, Okay, so I got the Dino Charge Megazord right here. So I've done a review of that. You can check it out. But what you can do is you can actually combine the cycles with it. So first things first, you actually want to take out the back piece and flip it. Oops, like so. So the pointy top is up top. And I think the main reason for that is these pieces, if they're sticking up here, when you attach the cycle, it's going to conflict with the piece there. So you want it to be more narrow up top, so then you have space for the cycle. So what I mean is, I can take that off right there. I can take the cycle and I just attach it like this. Boom, right on there. It looks really funky, but you can do it. It's certainly possible. And I can pop this one off here, and let's grab, you know, this one here. Boom. So now I have these weird arms, these cycle arms. So again, you can just kind of mess with it and do all sorts of crazy stuff there. And with Zord Builder pegs, you know, there's one on the leg, so what if I tried to like attach this one onto the leg? Boom, I now have a cycle growing off the side of the leg. So again, there's all sorts of crazy combinations that you can do with it. But that's not all, that's just the start of it. Oops, I just popped off the helmet. Now with the cycles, unfortunately, you move it forward, it's gonna pop off the helmet. You move it back, it conflicts with the little yellow piece on there. So you're kind of limited in the articulation from the cycles, but that's one little thing there. You could even technically, I didn't even try this yet. Is this gonna fit? It kind of does. You can fit it in that way, but then it kind of conflicts in front of the chest piece there. It's a little weird. So, you know, again, you can kind of play around with it and see what you would want to do there. You can also, if I attach these arms back, there's a peg at the top of there, right? Well, I can take the cycle, and I can attach the cycle on top like that. You know, I don't know why I'd want to do it, but I can. And if I wanted to, I could technically have like the Red Ranger riding on top and kind of, you know, controlling the Zord. I'm not going to actually sit him on, but you know, you can have all sorts of crazy stuff going on there. But that's not all, you know, because as you remember, this thing can split, right? So I can split this and I can flip the little dino. And now I have a little dinosaur chilling on top right there. So that's pretty cool. So again, you can have all sorts of little combinations with the cycle. And I think that adds for a lot of playability. The Zord Builder functionality has been great for Bandai. I think they've done some really cool stuff with it. So there's definitely a lot of different things that you can mess around with. And I think the cycles are much better for that. You know, in the past they've been Zord Builder compatible. Like here's one of the Super Mega Force ones. But you couldn't break them in half, you couldn't do anything with it, it just had one little port there and one little port there. In this case, yeah, you have like the port here and then the port there, but you can split it up. So I can have it like this, or split it like this, or put it, you know, all combined, or mix and match the cycles and put it on the legs, on top of the arm. So there's all sorts of different ways that you can do that there, and I think that's also pretty cool. Just also real quick, while I had it there, here's the Super Mega Force cycles in terms of size. So, in terms of like the length there, it's like the same length, but it's taller, and so it's kind of a bit more bigger basically in that sense. But anyways, so that's that, guys. These are the cycles for Power Rangers Dino Charge. And personally, my recommendation would be, if you're just looking to collect Dino Chargers, you can pass on these. If you're looking for some Zord Builder fun though, I think these are pretty cool. But my personal recommendation is to get just the main cycle. These other ones, while they're neat, and yes, you can mix and match, I don't feel that you really need to have, you know, all those things. You're not really going to get as much out of it in a way. But I think especially this one, I think is my personal favorite. And I think the Red Ranger one looks the best out of the three, the figures, and just from the combination. It's straight from the show. I think it looks cool. I love the color combination, and I think this cycle, in my opinion, is worth it. The other ones, you know, you can get them as well if you would like, but just know that they're essentially the exact same thing, just recolors, basically, and you get different Rangers with them. So that's the only thing there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or anything. That kind of wraps it up for everything released so far for Power Rangers Dino Charge. But stay tuned, because hopefully very soon we'll start to see lots more stuff from Dino Charge. We're only just getting started. The show is a couple months away from premiering, so we're only just getting started, and I'm excited to see what else comes next. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Please subscribe and get ready for some more Dino Charge in the future, and I will see you guys later.